got that. Sirens, chords. You can actually have it record something, have it play that.
If anybody is willing to donate pizza to hungry activists, please see us over at the Fox studio. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Max Weintraub, and I'm actually
Hey, how you doing, man?
I was wondering if anyone
We're here
had some time
supporting
for...
you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was just curious if anyone had a few minutes just to conduct a small little interview for a column that I'm writing. I'm just wondering, in your guys' own words, what is kind of the objective of the march against the mainstream media?
Educate the public, raise awareness.
Educate the public and raise awareness that 6 corporations own virtually every news outlet in the world, and that the news we're getting is 1, skewed, 2, incomplete, and 3, a lot of the most important stories that are happening in our world today aren't even being reported.
Media blackouts.
And what kind of stories would those be?
For example,
Fukushima, for instance.
Fukushima is the biggest one right now, yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was also the
400 billion tons of nuclear contaminated water are leaking each day from Fukushima Daiichi, Japan. And the Japanese government actually admitted to it, but mainstream media remained silent about it. And some did cover, but with very little coverage and very little detail. They didn't mention anything about how it's leaking and how it's at a 4-core nuclear meltdown.
An analogy to what the corporate media is doing now would be Time and Newsweek covers. In the entire world, Time and Newsweek cover breaking major stories. And in the United States, it'll be some celebrity fluff piece on the cover in the same week.
I mean, you know, they'll cover like Miley Cyrus twerking it at the VMAs when we're almost about to go to war with Syria.
Yeah,
and
that's a great example.
that is one of the domino pieces, because if we were to do that, oh boy,
We're going to
stuff
war
would
with
hit the fan.
Russia and China and Iran, which I think was the objective in the first place.
And the thing is, the war in there in Syria, what is it?
The Civil War.
It's a civil war, and if we were to go there, we would be supporting Al Qaeda, basically.
But both sides are corrupt. You can't support either side really without supporting terrorism. And we have no proof that what happened with the chemical weapons was not a false flag event. So going out there and giving money to people who, there's a lot of documentation of what the rebels are doing to the citizens, a lot of murders, a lot of children being like just tortured there. I saw a video of a 6-year-old girl who was getting her limbs chopped off while she was alive. I saw another video of a, like about the same age, like toddler, with her head just cut off, fresh body. So, and those were the rebels. Anyone who thinks that terrorists aren't working with them out there are absolutely out of their mind. Neither side is right, and we really need to stay out of that, especially when we have so many issues going on here.
Exactly.
Especially when our politicians are funding them to get weapons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For example, we funded over millions of dollars to Israel when they were having conflict with Palestine. It's ridiculous.
You know, in fact, I actually wrote a piece early in the semester about Syria, and I talked with several political science professors who had actually been in Beirut earlier in the week, talking about how there are, there's documented instances of the rebels using their own chemical weapons and then covering it up,
I heard about that.
massacre and so forth. So
Just trying to create a problem.
It goes down to, mainstream reporters finally having the guts to move forward with true information. And then they have corporations bribing them and threatening their jobs, their families, their income, offering them insane amounts of money not to say certain things. And if they don't go through with the bribe, they're fired. And it's happened to my sign here, Steve Wilson and Jane Aker. If you look it up, they were Fox News reporters, and they found out solid, concrete scientific evidence that milk, Monsanto milk with hormones in it, causes cancer. And Monsanto contacted Fox and set up this whole bribe and, intimidation deal with them, and they stood by their word, and they were like, we're not gonna, go through with it. They fired them. And this is true. You can Google it, look up the information, but this is happening to a lot of news reporters that actually really want to tell the public what's true. So you can't really believe anything on the news anymore. You have to look at several references, look at several U.S. news articles, then look at the world news articles and compare and contrast to find the truth of what's really going on.
Was there kind of a specific turning point in American media or a piece of legislation that enabled this corporate
9/11.
takeover?
Oh yeah, we
9/11.
I think it's been like this by design from the beginning, really. I mean, this is the whole point of media. As soon as the advertisers got in, they started having say in what actually got shown. So
Have you actually seen the documentary called Century of Self?
No.
It was produced by the BBC. It's actually like almost 10 years old now. But it actually documents the rise of basically public relations. There was a term made up by an individual who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And it's an interesting documentary, 4-part documentary that's actually quite detailed about the use of PR and basically the mass markets as a form of political control. So for your individual sake, it's worth checking it out. Because it's not something that's conspiracy theory. It's actually produced by the BBC. So.
How do you foresee solving this problem, or what actions need to be taken?
the American people need to turn off their televisions and start doing research for themselves on the issues that matter. Turn to independent media and decide for yourself. Don't just believe what you hear and what you read.